Good morning.
Hi, I'm Amanda Hull,
I'm Ro Kapishki.
and we just wanted to give you a reminder that tomorrow is the first public open forum for the Milwaukee Theater Standards.
Yeah, so the Milwaukee Theater Standards, it's a fantastic document that Amanda and myself, among many other talented folk, have been working on. It is an adaptation of and reworking of and reimagining of the Chicago Theater Standards, tailored for our Milwaukee community and the current political and social moment that we are in. It is the main goal of this document is to provide standards for our theater community that make theater a more equitable, accessible, and just space for everyone. It's something we've been working very hard on, and we are very excited to start sharing out to all of you, the Milwaukee community.
Yes, it's been a long process. We started this work last June, and now we just really need to bring it to the community so it can be a community-owned document, get your feedback, have a discussion. Over the course of 4 different dates in April, we're going to be discussing sections of the document. So tomorrow, the first one is at 11 a.m., Saturday, April 3rd. We're going to be discussing pages 1 through 13. So we hope you can join us. We'd really love your feedback. We won't be reading the document during that time all the way through, but we will have the document up so we can refer to it and take notes.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you there.
Yes, and I'm putting the information to sign up to come join us in the chat. Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you tomorrow.
Morning. My name is Jaimelyn Gray. I am the artistic director of The Constructivists, also a co-producer on this You've Got a Thing. We have a new guest who has never been on this program before, ever. Mr. Jeffrey, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi, my name is Jeffrey Moser, and I am a co-deviser on You Are Here You Are, an empathetic event going up this Saturday at Quasimondo.
That's awesome. We were just talking a little bit because we've never met before. Part of that is that we've been doing a pandemic for the past year, but you just want to, you have such a great universally provided story, I guess. Fate intervened to get you here in Milwaukee, and I just think that it's a great story. Can you give a little bit of the version?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, so I'm relatively new to Milwaukee, and so meaning that I'm relatively new in the artistic scene of things. I haven't produced or directed anything in town here that is. Yeah, I haven't really putting a foot into the artistic pool here at Milwaukee, but I've been working at Milwaukee Rep in their education department since then. But before all of that, I was finishing up grad school and I was looking for jobs, and I had finished my coursework and I found a job at Milwaukee Rep in a Chicago jobs posting, and I looked at it harder and harder and harder. I was like, yeah, I've done education before. I think I could do this. And then the harder I looked, there was also a job. I'm married, and so there was a job that my wife could also take on too. And we both looked at each other and said, no way. Is the whole world trying to blow us up to Milwaukee? And we're like, yeah, I think the winds might be blowing us to Milwaukee now. And so we both applied, and we both got jobs up here in Milwaukee in 2018. And so we've been here since then. And it's been great. It's been really great. We love it. We're having great experiences. And, I've been here long enough that it feels like, hey, it's time to have a foray into the artistic world of Milwaukee now. So here we are.
Yeah, because you have a directing MFA, you said, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was finishing my coursework at Northwestern in my MFA in directing.
That's awesome. Well, we're glad to have you in this community. It's great to have some Chicago trained people. I I'm a little biased because I spent some time, 10 years down there myself. I learned a lot, but I'm originally from Wisconsin, and so I love this area. I love Milwaukee. I have always loved Milwaukee. And so it's great that we can have some of the talent come up here instead of like Wisconsin exporting everybody all the time. Part of our task here at the Theater Alliance is to build a community that we can keep our artists here.
And I so appreciate that. And I've felt that since I've gotten here. I've actually lived in a few other, like, what I call like mosquito cities, like feeling like that. So like I grew up in Minneapolis, and everybody in Minneapolis is like, I can't wait to go to Chicago, right? And so like everybody in Minneapolis wants to escape to go to Chicago because it's a bigger theater scene. And I lived in Boston for a while, and everybody in Boston was like, I can't wait to go to New York. Like they want to escape to New York. And now coming from Chicago to Milwaukee, I'm like, I hear some people saying, yeah, I want to go to New York, or I'm sorry, I want to go to Chicago. But at the same time, it's like, art is where you are. Art, the kind of art you want to make can be made in the city that you're in. And so I'm not saying don't go pursue that goal, but I mean, just how can we make that happen here? And I'm so excited to hear about the standards that you're talking about and bringing those practices. And like, that happens everywhere. We pull ideas from every nook and cranny across the country. So it's great. I think it's amazing that these things are happening here.
Yeah, it's all about just making this community better, and really showing, particularly the state of Wisconsin, because we're 49th in funding, that we can build and have a well-rounded and robust community that deserves money and attention and all of that. And so all of these things, with people learning other places and then coming here, and the standards and all of that is, I think, just the start of a long process of making Milwaukee a world-renowned arts center.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes, I think that one of the things about we're the southeastern Wisconsin here is the economic driver in the arts. Like, we push it. I mean, I understand that arts and tourism are under the same umbrella in the way that the way that Wisconsin sees it. But we are like this neck of the woods. We are making it happen. And we need to make that argument. You're absolutely right. We need to make that argument to our state legislators. I mean, I think that Arts Wisconsin Day is coming up, or like where advocacy can happen more frequently. So I think if we can, keep the pedal down on them there, that would be so helpful and so useful, saying, hey, listen, we are the economic and cultural and tourism driver in the state. So Milwaukee.
Yeah. We're working on it.
Yeah.
So how did you end up at Quasimondo then?
Oh, so in all of my adventures across the country and whatnot, I had the opportunity to do some really excellent physical theater training. And a lot of clown work, a lot of physical work, a lot of dance training, Del Arte, Lecoq, lots of really amazing European trained clown training and beyond. So I have this physical theater background that also feeds into my directing energies. And so when I got to Milwaukee and I was trying to figure out, like, so who's my crew? Who's my, who's doing the kind of work that I'm excited by and that I'm interested in and feel like I could give to. Yeah. I looked around, and Quasimondo was definitely one that stood out to me. And I saw some of their shows, and shortly after I reached out to Brian, and he talked to me about being on the board. And so I'm actually on their board right now. And so January pre-pandemic, I was started on the board, and so I've been on for a year. So I've only sort of seen things. So we've been working on a lot of really great initiatives, I think, throughout the past year. And it's been really fun, exciting, even though it has been we've all been at home.
I think for all arts orgs, the silver lining to this pandemic is being able to do those things behind the scenes where, especially the smaller organizations, we're scrambling all the time. Like, you know, we're just trying to stay, what is it? Cart before the horse. Like, we're just
Right.
trying to keep even with the cart, you know? And
Right.
so I know for the Constructivists and for the Theater Alliance in particular, especially with like the theater standards and whatnot, we've been able to do a lot of that work. So it's good to hear that Quasi was able to do those similar things.
Yeah, I think that this pandemic has asked us all to be really creative and be really smart about the choices and things we do and the programming and it asks you really to how do you want to connect with your audience? Like, how do you want to keep your audiences? How do we want to stay engaged and not lose one another, not lose track of each other, you know?
Yeah.
And that's half of it. So.
Yeah, and we're still in it. We're still in it, no
Yes.
matter how many people have been vaccinated. You know, it's only like 25%, so we've got a long way to go. So right. Tell me about You Are Here, You Are.
Yeah, so You Are Here, You Are. So we've been devising it. So we, meaning I actually started devising this outside of Quasimondo because I had a friend who reached out to me who's going to school in New York. And he reached out to me and said, listen, I don't know how to make theater on Zoom. And you like to have experiments in all mediums. What could we make in Zoom? And so shortly thereafter, my wife joined us, and she also is a deviser on the project, and his wife joined us, who's also a deviser on the project. And it just so happened we had 2 households, 2 Zoom rooms. It was just, you know, we just made it happen. We knew each other from Boston, actually. And I knew the both of them as amazing improvisers. I actually first met them as improvisers, and then they've sort of stepped into this world of acting and more and more acting. But I got to direct them. I directed the Showman's show for them that turned into their wedding, that turned into Beyond. So we all, as couples, met and started devising You Are Here, You Are.
Okay.
And the idea behind You Are Here, You Are was we started talking about rehearsing in June or July, and everybody was just at this low stage. And number one, it was a great chance for us to sort of have our backs and have short little bursts of support every week. We got to connect and talk and what's going on and what's bothering us right now. And how does that feed into the theater? How can we make theater that feeds into supporting each other throughout this quarantine pandemic period?
Yes.
And so we had talked about, one of the interesting things we talked about was people having crying practice. So there's in a particular culture, they would practice crying in order to bring up those emotions and to release those emotions in some way, right? And how can we practice?
Yes.
How can we practice being? So then that asks us the question: how can we practice being vulnerable in a safe way? Like, if I can cry without anybody seeing, and I feel release and relief. And if I have, for whatever reason, a stigma around being seen as crying or weak or whatever that may connotate, like, how can I get rid of those cultural stigmas and actually go to crying practice? Well, how can we have being wrong practice? Because right now we feel like there are a lot of people who are afraid to speak out in this current social political climate, that are afraid to say anything because they are afraid to be wrong. I don't want to be wrong. So how can we practice being wrong? And that in multiple ways, we talked about how can we practice being wrong, but it's really about how can we practice being vulnerable in a safe way where audiences will feel like, I can share this with you, but I can also learn from you. So I can empathize with you. I can learn from this moment. So this play turned into a practice for how do we practice being empathetic human beings through Zoom, which is like a desensitizing animal right here, right? Yeah. So like this camera fourth wall is so prohibitive to so many things, but how can we make a piece of theater that breaks through that fourth wall?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you so hard on that. I'm huge on small, intimate spaces and like everybody breathing on each other and like sitting next to people and like having the shit scared out of you and all of that. Like I thrive on that. And I'm like, also not very good in a pandemic.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, like everybody going through Zoom fatigue super fast. That happened super, like we were all out and ready to go, and we're going to conquer the Zoom theater thing. And man, it gets real tiresome real fast.
Yeah. I mean, because it is the only way. It is not the only way, but it has become the way to communicate, right? So yeah, we just don't, and there's no separation from entertainment. So like entertainment or shared experience is also shared experience of meeting times and all these other things. So we can't, it's hard to divorce the two things, or it's hard to like find a reason why they can coexist. So you're absolutely right. It's exhausting.
Yeah. Can you talk to me a little bit about the devising process? Because when I see devising in my head, it's people touching each other, in a good way, and having that real hands-on experience, and hugging, and being eyeball to eyeball, and all of those things that you do when you're devising, because it's all about discovery and what works and all of that. Can you talk about that in a Zoom way?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely less touching. I mean, definitely. Right?
Is it now?
But our devising was much more intellectual, I would say. Okay. Think about it as though you were group writing almost.
Okay.
So we were sort of group writing the content. Each week we would give ourselves a prompt and say, this week I want you to come with a dance that is only your face. I want you to come with what's a physical thing that can only be done, but it can't be translated through Zoom? Like sometimes impossible challenges, like, can you fly on your screen? How do you make yourself fly?
Sure.
So like impossible things, like there's no way for you to know that I'm not floating right now, right? Like you don't,
sure.
Like there are surprises and so playing with that like surprise became a thrust for the show. So one of the things we found really satisfying was that we wanted to find analog joy. Like we're in this digital universe, but the things that still bring us joy are the analog things. Reading books, right? Talking to people, that's an analog thing regardless of screen, right? Even though we're doing that electronically right now, I realize the hypocrisy of that. We like to do things with our hands. We like to do things in the moment here. And beyond. So like, how can we find analog joy and share that with somebody? And so our devising process was like, come with a bunch of stuff every week, come with things, come with news pieces, come with podcast episodes, come with, give us things to listen to and absorb throughout the week. And then we come back, we'll talk about what really affected us. And then we'll start to like, think about how does that manifest into the play and what is the play, and then it became like, how do we use this medium to the best of its ability? Because theater can be, it's either it can be pre-recorded, but like, how can we make it live? How can we actually have the risk of live theater? Like you were saying, like, I want to be able to breathe and like gasp at frightening things with people. How can we make those things happen? How can we do that in real time?
Are you having your guests in the Zoom with you, or are you doing it more of like a webinar format?
No, so audiences will be asked at the beginning to like start with their mics and cameras off.
Okay.
And then, there are moments when we will ask you to like, hey, put that in the chat, go ahead and put your, so we do find ways to invite the audience in, but it's a no pressure way of inviting the audience into participating. It's not I hate saying participatory theater because people are like, oh, I don't want to get up and dance. This isn't, I don't want to do it wrong. Right. I don't want to be embarrassed on stage.
Yeah.
But this sort of participation is we guide in a way that is will hopefully open the audience up to wanting to participate more and more throughout the process.
Awesome. So everybody's in the room with you.
To answer your question, yes. Sorry, yes.
No, everyone, no, I just want to know if I heard what I heard.
Yeah, totally. Yes, everybody's in the room. There's no fourth wall to hide behind for our actors. So
it's limited. It's limited seating. Yeah, it's limited ticketing. It's limited. Yeah.
in an effort to make sure that this is sort of an intimate affair and an intimate experience, that, you know, we don't have 100 people in the room. We are trying to do want to keep it a small house. And that's really important to us, so that actors and audience feel like, yeah, I'm at a house party. I'm with the people that would fit in a house. This makes sense.
How long did the rehearsal process go on for then? What was, because you said that you had originally come up with the concept and you brought it with you. How long did you work with Quasi on that?
We worked for this, so the devisers and the four of us really worked on this for 6 months, maybe.
Oh, wow.
June or July until November. And then in November we did a reading, test audience with a test audience, got some feedback, and then we sat on it for a little bit. And then the beginning of 2021, we reached out to Quasi and said, hey, we think we have a thing. Why don't you take a look at the script and take a look at, we recorded our audience reactions. And so of that particular rehearsal, and they said, yeah, this looks great. Let's make it happen. So then here we are making plans to do this in tomorrow night.
That's great. Who are the performers in the piece then?
Brielle Richmond is Milwaukee local, myself, and then our two other fellow devisers, Sophia Schrand and Brendan Mulhern. And then we've also got Alex Quijones, who is from LA. And so we're coast to coast in this performance. Sophia and Brendan are both in New York right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, real coast to coast.
Yeah.
So what's how many weeks does this run? What is the length of time on that?
Yep. So we're doing it every Saturday in April here at 8 o'clock Central. And like you said, tickets are limited. But because we want to aim for small houses, but we'll see if there's increased demand. Maybe we'll increase our shows, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, doesn't everybody hope for an extension in this environment? Like that everybody wants the art so bad that they just need to keep going and going. It is my life's dream to just have something that makes people want more and more and more and more. So, anything else you got? Like, what else do you need people to know? We've got the website up there, which is I'm assuming where you can get tickets, which is Quasimondo.org. Yeah,
that's right.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'll get you the tickets and beyond.
Awesome sauce. Well, I'm really grateful to have met you, sir. And I hope this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I still have to go and like dig in your Facebook and see how many friends we have. You're a Northwestern person. My people are more Columbia. So I don't know, but I have some divisor friends, and I'm thinking that like we are in the Kevin Bacon sense closer connected than we would think. Yeah,
it's totally true. Devising is such a small world, and I too can't wait to see our mutual friends list. It's going to be great.
It's a particular art form. It's really no, but I mean that in the sense of that it's something that people should watch. No matter what, no matter what your tastes are, like I'm a reality based person, but I find devising work, and I've done a devised show myself, and it's just so it's very fulfilling for the artists themselves. But you as the audience member, it brings up all these thoughts and questions and ideas of like, how did you get here?
Yeah.
How did you start with nothing and you got all the way over here? It's so cool. It's just so cool.
Yeah, you literally start from nothing, but really you start with people, and people are full of things, and that's what it's really about. It's the magic of synergy. It's the magic of people full of ideas, and like you realizing that you are not the only person who's thinking this.
And chemistry, like there's the chemistry of people and just how things happen. Art is so great and theater is so great. I want everybody to know it and love it.
Yes.
It's my work. Well, you're an education person, so that's your route as well. Yes.
Totally. Yeah. No. So I work in education at Milwaukee Rep, and while a lot of my work is making sure that students are getting our content and whatnot, it's also making sure that we're creating content that is interesting and exciting for people. So, we had a huge, in education right now, there's no lack of need for content. Teachers need content. And so we're like pivoting all of our content and making sure that, for example, our Christmas Carol we made some new Christmas Carol materials and made sure that was getting into classrooms. And, there's just a lot of energy right now spent around learning how this format is going to work for everybody. So, so it's been a learning curve around Zoom for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But it's, the whole process of education is how to create lifers. Yeah. How to get them into theater and then keep them there forever.
That's right. We want to hook them. We want them to love it as much as we do. Right.
Yeah. 100%. I feel like the world would be a better place if everybody loved theater as much as I do.
Yeah. And I've had the argument, justifying theater versus sports and the argument for anything else. Like, how's my kid going to learn teamwork in theater? As though sports is the only place where it happens. And I guarantee it's a different kind of teamwork you have, but you know what? It's in many ways not. It is in so many ways not. Everybody has their job to do. Everybody has a opening night. Everybody has it's so similar. It's so similar that it's finding ways to like make that impression of saying, hey, theater is in the same vein. It is a team sport.
And why can't we have both? Like, why can't you be the football player and be interested in theater in all its forms?
Absolutely.
It's two maybe different sides of the brain or whatever, but I think that you can do both. People can do so many things.
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, we're all multi-hyphenated artists, right? You are not just one thing. No one is ever just one thing, right? And in the devising room, no one is just one thing. And in this play, no one is just one thing. And that's one thing that we're really trying to explore is you are not one thing, and you can be multiple things, and you can hear somebody else say something and say, hey, you know what? Me too. I am that too, or I am interested in that too. That connects to me. And so making those connections, that's really what we need to do, what I feel we need to be doing as theater artists and social practitioners, and thinking about the world is like, I have more in common with you than we have different.
Yeah.
And that's so important to remember. And that's our goal with this play, is finding more commonalities.
Well, we look forward to your thing. Aurora found something funny. That's my kid back there, if anybody.
I love it. I love it. Work from home.
Yes. We're in it. She's on spring break too. So like.
Oh yeah.
You open tomorrow.
Yes.
Right? Or open officially tomorrow.
That's right.
Quasimondo.org. Mr. Jeffrey Moser, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Someday I give it 6 months, if not sooner. We can do that. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming on today. Break legs tomorrow, and I'm very excited to hopefully get in there with you all in the room and see your awesomeness shortly.
Yeah, and thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. This has been a delight. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's good to have you, and we'll talk more soon.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Bye. All right, friends. I love always meeting new people, and the Milwaukee community is just so awesome. I'm so excited. I'm just so excited to eventually get back to being together live and meeting people in person for real again, and the whole nine. So I just want to go over quickly. There's not a lot of extra things going on in the community right now, but we we've got a couple of things that we can share with you. Let me get my screen up here. Optimist Theater, No Holds Barred, their Pericles project, their last live show is next week, and on next week Wednesday, that is the last live show. You can find all of their videos of the Pericles project, which is based on Shakespeare's play, at noholdsbarred.org. They're real short videos. They're just 5 to 7 minute pieces. They do about 2 per Wednesday, and so check that out. And then the last thing is, I just always want to, be grateful for Imagine MKE, who allows us to use this amazing technology that they let us use. But also just, stuff that Jeffrey and I were talking about getting funding for the arts, and moving Wisconsin up from 49th position to better the arts community here in Wisconsin. Imagine MKE is really the big monster doing all that work, and the Milwaukee Theater Alliance is like, I don't want to say it's a pyramid scheme, but it's kind of a pyramid scheme that, Imagine's up here, and then the Theater Alliance is under that, and then all the companies underneath that, and then all the individual artists under that to just strengthen numbers. But if you're looking for arts advocacy and you're looking to help the community and get more money for artists and make art more a part of everybody's life, please go to imaginemke.org/act, and you can sign up for things. They will send you emails. They will do all of these. They will show you how to get involved in a great, great way. And thank you so much for being here. Next week is, I don't know, what's next week? The 9th. If you have a thing, reach out to us, please. And we will have you on this weekly program. And be well out there. Do the things that you can do to make this pandemic move faster, and so that we can all get back together again and be in seats next to each other, laughing and being scared and going through all the lovely cathartic experiences that live theater provides soon. So just help us out a little bit. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week on You've Got a Thing.